MSW Media.
News with swearing. Daily beans, daily beans. Daily beans, daily beans.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Beans for Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. Today, federal agents descend on Chinatown in New York in an apparent raid. An ICE agent fired shots hitting an alleged immigrant and a US Marshal during a traffic stop in Los Angeles. New York Attorney General Letitia has launched a portal to collect evidence against federal agents. Illinois and Chicago in particular is urging the Supreme Court to uphold a block on National Guard deployment. Senator Jeff Merkley warns tyranny has arrived in a marathon floor speech protesting Trump. SNAP benefits are about to expire, so California Governor Gavin Newsom is taking action. And a new Quinnipiac poll has Democrats way up in the general ballot. I'm your host, Dana Goldberg. Hey, everyone. I am flying the plane solo. Allison has literally just landed in paradise. She is on a much-needed vacation. I'm flying solo today. She's going to be back tomorrow, though, because Allison doesn't know how to take a proper vacation. So she is actually going to be back with us tomorrow. And oddly enough, I will be out. So we are switching pilot seats. She's going to take over back at the helm. And then I'll be back with you all on Monday morning. I am flying to the East Coast. That son of a bitch. Trump has decided that he's actually demolishing the entire East Wing of the White House. And we talked about this yesterday in the podcast. Allison and I are gutted. That's such a beautiful part of the People's House. I just want to remind everyone, this isn't his house. It is literally called the People's House. We pay for it. We are paying his rent there, if you will. I'm just so furious about this. And I hope that whoever, because we need to make sure this happens, whoever takes back this administration and oh God, it's way too far away, but in a few years, just remedies some of this. I'd be all up for Reconstruction. That's for sure. I mean, trust me, the Republicans know about Reconstruction. Most of them have had it on their face. Okay. Gender affirming care, everyone. That's what that is. I just want you to remind you, they have more gender affirming care with some of those Republican women than any of my trans friends have ever had in their life. All right. See, I'm going to pretend that you're enjoying this because I don't have anyone to bounce this stuff off of. So we're going to keep moving. But before I get to the main portion of the news, I got one quick good news story. This one's from Alternet. Republican leaders in the Indiana Senate Republican caucus announced Wednesday they currently don't have enough votes to proceed with the plan to redraw congressional maps mid-decade. This is a big deal because Trump has been pushing and pressuring red states to do this. The statement came from the Senate Majority Communications Office, and the message was really clear. The votes aren't there for redistricting. There's a side note. The governor is willing to explore a special session, but he said he's not going to do it without the support of the legislature. And if they don't have votes from the legislature to actually do the redistricting, I would be shocked if they're going to get them for the special session. So there's a little good news to start off the podcast because Lord knows it's not all going to be this happy. So let's get into it. Let's hit the hot notes.
Hot notes.
Okay, everyone. First up, from the Gothamist, more than 24 federal law enforcement officials descended on Canal Street, Manhattan's Chinatown, on Tuesday afternoon, detaining at least 4 people as part of an apparent raid that later escalated into street clashes with bystanders. 2 Gothamist reporters witnessed federal agents restraining several individuals and questioning one man who was later released after showing identification. And this is a quote. I just seen them swarm. This is from a delivery driver. Reese Galeria said of the federal agents. He said it was chaotic. Officers were wearing vests that read, Police Federal Agent, Police, and that identified them as members of Homeland Security, Investigations, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, otherwise known as ICE. Well, late Tuesday evening, DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin said in a statement, first of all, I just want to say I don't trust anything McLaughlin says, so take this with a grain of salt and 4 shots of tequila. But McLaughlin said in a statement that the raid was, and I quote, a targeted, intelligence-driven enforcement operation. And that was focused on criminal activity relating to selling counterfeit goods. McLaughlin said the effort included multiple federal agencies, including the FBI, DEA, ATF, IRS, CI, and Customs and Border Protections. And this is another quote. During this law enforcement operation, rioters were shouting obscenities became violent and obstructed law enforcement duties, included blocking vehicles and assaulting law enforcement. That's what she said. Already one rioter has been arrested for assault on a federal officer. And I don't know if I even trust that. I would love to know if there's body cam footage because there's been a lot of lies coming out of this organization. A spokesperson for the NYPD said the department was not involved in the operation. A spokesperson for Mayor Eric Adams said the city had no role in the raid and under local law does not cooperate with federal authorities on civil immigration enforcement. So again, this is Kristi Noem territory, Homeland Security, and a bunch of people who should not be what they're doing. And I just don't believe that the violence was caused from the bystanders. It's really hard for me to believe that this wasn't instigated because we've seen it time and time again. That's what this government is trying to do, to say that there is, reason for force from the military in these cities. So we'll keep you posted on that story. This next one is from CBS 6 in New York. New York Attorney General Letitia James, who we love, is urging residents, and I actually enjoy this story. She's urging residents to share photos and videos of federal immigration enforcement actions in the state following a reported Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that ICE raid, on the story I just told you about. Because apparently Tish James doesn't believe this shit either. So she's like, hey, if you got pictures of what happened, I'm going to set up a portal. In a release, James announced the launch of a new online reporting portal through the Office of the Attorney General, the OAG, where New Yorkers can submit documentation of ICE activity for review. And if anyone knows how to, if you see something, say something, it is the New Yorkers, trust me. Letitia James said, and I quote, "Every New Yorker has the right to live without fear or intimidation. If you witnessed and documented ICE activity yesterday, I urge you to share that footage with my office. We are committed to reviewing these reports and assessing any violations of law. No one should be subject to unlawful questioning, detention, or intimidation." And a lot of these stories, a lot of these stories are being debunked because of people that are there with their phones. A lot of garbage comes out, and unfortunately, a lot of bad stuff happens because people can record everything now. But there's also good citizens out there documenting this because the ICE agents are lying. Homeland Security is lying. This government is lying. Okay, so residents can submit photos, you can submit videos and other documentation directly through the Office of Attorney General's online portal. So New York, if you happen to be in the area during that ICE raid, here is a way that you can help. And I'm going from the East Coast to the West. We're going over to Los Angeles. This is from ABC. An undocumented immigrant and law enforcement officer, they were both wounded when an officer fired shots during a targeted enforcement traffic stop in Los Angeles. That's according to federal officials. The man had allegedly tried to, and I quote, evade arrest by using his car to ram a law enforcement vehicle, which prompted the officers to fire defensive shots, striking the man in the elbow. This is from a Department of Homeland Security official Tuesday. So again, grain of salt. We've seen other stories like this that got proven wrong in the past. I'm not saying it didn't happen this way. I'm just saying keep an open mind. A deputy US Marshal was also struck in the hand by a ricochet bullet. Acting U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley identified the man involved in the alleged ramming as Carlitos Ricardo Perias. He's 44 years old. Perias, who Asaley said is an undocumented immigrant from Mexico living in Los Angeles, has been charged with assault on a federal officer. He's expected to make his initial appearance on Wednesday at the Roybal Federal Building in downtown Los Angeles. Perias maintains a well-known TikTok account under the name Richard LA18 with about 130,000 followers and frequently follows federal immigration operations in Los Angeles. That's according to Community Organization. And this is a quote. "This morning, Perias rammed his car into his agents' vehicles after they boxed him in and ordered him to submit to arrest." Asaley said that in a statement. He went on to say Perias, who had previously avoided capture by immigration authorities, refused to comply with agents' orders and escalated what could have been a simple arrest into a life-threatening situation. Okay. Now, Asaley said Perias rammed into law enforcement vehicles in front of and behind him and spun his car's tires, causing it to fishtail. He said ultimately an agent opened fire, wounding Perias and a deputy U.S. Marshal who was hit with a ricochet bullet. Asaley went on to say, fortunately, both the deputy marshal and Perias are expected to recover. I'm happy to hear that. Both were taken to the hospital. This stuff is just continuing to escalate. And I really hope that we can get a hold of it at some point because people are going to continue to get hurt and no one really knows what these real stories are and what the truth is about this unless we've got body cam footage or cell phone footage. So I hope that there were witnesses. And we're going from LA to Chicago, and there's a little bit of good news here. This is also from ABC. The Trump administration's push to lift a lower court's order barring the deployment of the National Guard in Chicago relies on mischaracterizations of the facts on the ground. Lawyers for the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois, they wrote that in a brief to the Supreme Court on Monday. They urged the High Court to keep in place the current order that allows the Trump administration to federalize the Illinois National Guard, but it prohibits them from deploying into Chicago. And this is a quote from the story. Applicants' contrary arguments rest on mischaracterizations of the factual record or the lower court's view of the legal principles. As the district court found, state and local law enforcement officers have handled isolated protest activities in Illinois, and there's no credible evidence to the contrary. So with the temporary restraining order set to expire in 3 days, Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul encouraged the court to reach the same conclusion reached by two lower courts, that Illinois would be irreparably harmed, and Trump was unlikely to prove the takeover of the National Guard was even justified. They argue that the current arrangement barred the deployment, but allowing the federalization of the National Guard, and I quote, safeguards the careful balance of power struck by the Constitution and affords the federal government appropriate solicitude while the fast-moving case proceeds in the lower courts. And the last quote in the story, the framers carefully apportioned responsibility over the militia today, that would be the National Guard, between the federal government and the states, granting the federal government the authority to call up the militia only for specific purposes at specific times. That's what they wrote. So I'm glad that they're pushing on this. I'm glad that a lot of the states are pushing back on this. A lot of the courts are still doing what they need to do, everyone. So there's still hope in that, okay? This story is from The Guardian, and we're going back to California. Gavin Newsom warned this week that Donald Trump's increasingly long government shutdown, it's going to impact those who rely on federal food support. It's likely going to delay the benefits as families are preparing to celebrate Thanksgiving in November. On Wednesday, California's governor said that he would set aside $80 million in state support and deploy the California National Guard to assist food banks. This is how you should use the National Guard, everybody. He said Trump's failure to open the federal government is now endangering people's lives and making basic needs like food more expensive, just as the holidays arrive. This is Newsom. He went on to say, it is long past for Republicans in Congress to grow a spine, stand up to Trump, and deliver for the American people. Extensive cuts to the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, otherwise known as SNAP. And by the way, SNAP provides benefits to 41.7 million Americans. Those were already approved, by the way, in Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act passed earlier this summer, putting increasing strain on food banks and low-income Americans. The impending November interruption, it adds further weight, especially when bundled in with rising food costs. Department of Social Services websites in red and blue states, they have warnings posted regarding the potential lapse in SNAP benefits. Democratic governors across the country are laying the blame at the feet of the Trump administration, as it should be. The Republicans run all three branches. They can open the government anytime they want to. Newsom's office said that the 5.5 million Californians who use SNAP benefits, and that 63% of those beneficiaries are children or elderly people. Alongside SNAP cuts and higher grocery bills, some low-income Americans have to gear up for colder winter as the shutdown grinds funding the low-income home energy assistance program to a halt. While no solutions have been found for groceries or heat, Kristi Noem, known puppy shooter and Homeland Security Secretary, has said that 70,000 agents across the department will be paid through the shutdown, including the ICE agents and the U.S. Border Patrol. And I'm not saying that this shouldn't be the case, but if those federal agents are getting paid, they can find a way to pay federal employees, especially those in the FAA, keeping us safe in the skies. The SNAP recipients, hoping for guidance on navigating the shutdown, they will find little assistance on the program's website. The government's not helping them at all. There are states that are, especially the blue states. I know California is trying to help. My home state of New Mexico, they're trying to do what they can, and other blue states are trying to fix this. So at least they are trying to help their constituents. And speaking of someone who is really starting to get fired up about all of this is Senator Jeff Merkley. This is from NBC. Merkley is a Democrat in Oregon, And he is still speaking, by the way, on the Senate floor after delivering remarks for more than 16 hours in protest. What he described as President Donald Trump's authoritarian leadership and warning that the republic is facing, and I quote, the biggest threat since Civil War. He said, President Trump is shredding our Constitution. Is it okay for mass federal agents to arrest people off the streets because of the color of their skin or their accent? No way. Not in a free America. That was Merkley. He said that in his opening remarks around 6:30 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. So this story obviously might be a little dated by the time you hear it, but this was a very long floor speech. The Democratic senator went on to rebuke the Trump administration for other actions, including weaponizing the Department of Justice to attack his political opponents, including former FBI Director James Comey, New York Attorney General Letitia James, Senator Adam Schiff, and canceling research grants to universities in an attempt to gain control over what can be taught. On Wednesday morning, the Oregon Democrat said he wanted the public's takeaway from his comments to be that, and I quote, tyranny has already arrived. It's not down the street. It's not around the corner. It will not be encountered on the path tomorrow. It is here at this very moment. He also argued that tyranny comes in two forms, including the attack on freedom, and he said the disappearance of the fundamental separation of powers. And boy, are we seeing that now. He said, suddenly you have three elements that create tyranny in place of freedom, or authoritarianism in place of republic. And those are a rubber stamp Congress, a differential court, and an aggressive authoritarian personality with a good plan. A Merkley aide said Tuesday that the senator is expected to go as long as he can. His speech comes months after Senator Cory Booker delivered that marathon remark, 25 hours and 4 minutes, breaking the record on the longest floor speech in Senate history, although he made a very questionable vote after that. But he definitely did that incredible floor speech. So I'm glad that people are standing up, and it sounds like sometimes they're standing up for 25 hours at a time. I do have some good news to close out the hot notes. The latest Quinnipiac poll, that's a fun one, isn't it? Quinnipiac poll shows that we have the biggest Democratic advantage so far this year on the general ballot. Democrats are now plus 9 points, leading Republicans 50-41. And I know we've had polls in the past that have said we were doing well, and it didn't necessarily work out that way. So regardless of what you hear, do not give out hope. Do not give up hope. Just assume there's going to be a midterm. Believe that we are going to be able to put some semblance of sanity back into this country in just a little over a year from now. All right. And there's special elections happening all the time. I know there's special elections. California, if you're listening, and I hope you are, and if you know people in California, give them a text and say, turn in your ballot and vote yes on Prop 50. Okay. You got other states saying they don't have the votes to gerrymander, but Texas is already doing the dirty work. So make sure California can actually counterattack. That's what it is. It's a counterattack. So use your constitutional right to vote and let your voice be heard. All right, everyone. Those were the hot notes. We're going to be right back with a little good trouble and a lot of good news.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Things have been wild in the world lately, and community and good wine, they're keeping me sane. There's just something about opening a great bottle when friends are over that makes everything feel better. That's why I love Naked Wines. I love the entire shipment. They make it easy to keep quality bottles ready for any occasion. Naked Wines is a service that directly connects you to the world's finest independent winemakers, so you can get award-winning wine delivered straight to your door. Let's thank Naked Wines for supporting our show. Go to nakedwines.com/dailybeans and use our code DailyBeans for the code and the password and get their incredible deal for 6 bottles for just $39.99. That's incredible. Now, I probably have the same taste as AG because I also love the Arabella Reserve Chardonnay 2022. It's a wonderful taste of citrus and richness from oaks, the aging. My friends loved it. And it actually pairs really good with the food. It's great with fish, really light meals. And honestly, the compliments kept flowing as much as the wine did. Naked Wines cuts out the middlemen, saving you up to 60% off store prices. Real winemakers, better prices, and premium bottles that make hosting or gifting easier than ever, everyone. Now is the time to join the Naked Wines community. Head to nakedwines.com/dailybeans. Click enter voucher, and put in our code, Daily Beans, for both the code and the password for 6 bottles of wine for just $39.99 with shipping included. That's $100 off your first 6 bottles at nakedwines.com/dailybeans and use the code and password Daily Beans for 6 bottles of wine for $39.99. All right, everyone, it's time for the good news.
Who likes good news, everyone? Then good news, everyone.
Good news.
And if you have any good news, corrections, confections, oh my God, we have made up so many different games. I can't even remember. You got a whoopee story. You've got you want to give one of your loved ones a shout out. You want to give yourself a shout out. We love all of these stories. So anything that is good right now, you've got a happy place. You've got pictures. You're an artist. You want to share a small business with us. Literally, we will take anything as your tax for your good news, as long as you attach a picture of a pod pet or a happy place or your art or anything that's going to make Allison and I joyful. Okay. So if you have something, go to dailybeanspod.com and just click on the good news and let us know what you got. We want to hear from all the listeners all the time. And we are going to start off with some good trouble. All right, everyone. Your good trouble today is to tell GOP representatives to get to work and end this shutdown. It has gone on for too long. Or call to tell your Democratic senator, thank you for holding the line. So you have a choice. You can call the GOP reps and say, do your fucking job. Or you can call your Democratic senators and just say, thank you for holding the line. Thank you for protecting our health insurance, our health care. And by the way, Indivisible, as always, has a script for you. For those of you that are a little shy on the cold call, I am one of them. They have a script for you. We're going to have that in the show notes. There's a call now to tell the GOP representatives to get to work script. And there's a call now to tell Democratic senators to keep holding the line. Okay. We're going to have both of those for you in the show notes. We're moving on with the good news. The submission is from Jamie. I attended my first ever protest, No King's Day rally at, oh boy, this is going to be a fun episode without Allison. Ossining, New York. That's what we're going with. Send in a correction if I'm wrong. There were many, many more people than I had anticipated. And the train heading down to Ossining was crowded. No MAGA-inspired counter-protesting fuck chops were seen anywhere. And the local police presence was both courteous and light numerically. As a warts and all history geek, I love this, who always believed that America was a fantastic idea that has yet to be fully realized by all of its citizens. This moment of history, the past decade really, has been personally traumatic. As a former Army guy, thank you for your service, and GS, even more so. My childhood was chaotic, and there wasn't much around to believe in. And I always believed in America, the Constitution, and the essential decency of my neighbors. I wept more and harder than I ever had in my life when this orange Dybuk, we're thinking it's Dybuk, was reelected in November. And I know I should probably know that word. I think it's a Yiddish word. In November, I knew what it meant and would mean to my country. And that was my initial response. But now, I think thanks to No Kings and you guys keeping us laughing and honest every day, and the Midas guys, all of you, etc., we can stop the fascistic damage and return us all to the better angels of our nature. This middle-aged, broke-down, white suburban-ass punk appreciates you both and all you are doing out there fighting for truth and light. Keep going. Here are a couple of still videos that Jamie recorded. These are great pictures from signs. I love this. It's one of my favorites. It's so bad. Even the introverts are here. True patriots defend democracy. All these No King signs have been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Again, thank you for your service. All right, up next, we got Julie, pronouns she and her. Oopsie, it's me from yesterday. Here we go. It's me from yesterday's good news. Here's my brother's letter to the editor that got me out to protest twice in a week. I texted him the picture of my friend and me at the Bridge Brigade. And here's a pic of my favorite creative costume from the June 14th protest, the day that Melissa Hortman and her husband and dog were assassinated. What a horrible, horrible day in our country. And this is the letter from her brother. I think anti-Trump protesters are doing a disservice to their cause. I don't agree with Trump on most issues, but all the protests just feed into the narratives he makes up. If you haven't noticed, Trump makes up his own issues, theories, and then has his cabinet members push what he thinks. It's happened time after time. What blue states should do is to fight his policies in court and not plan confrontational protests. Let everyone see there is no national emergency, and eventually the troops will just leave because there's nothing there to do. That was from her brother, and obviously she very much disagrees with that letter to the editor. So, Julie, thank you for sending that in. I happen to disagree with your brother as well. I think us exercising our First Amendment right to free speech and our right to protest and gather is fundamental to this country and our Constitution. So I think we can chew gum and walk at the same time. So get out there and vote, but protest as well. All right, everyone. Next up is an anonymous submission, but the pronouns are she and her. I am so grateful I listened to your podcast. I'm a Christ follower, and I've been struggling a lot lately with the loud, ugly Christian bullshit going on in the world. I've been feeling like I'm legit crazy, that I don't believe a single thing that they're spewing. My Jesus does not preach any of this crap. I even had to walk out of church after Charlie Kirk died because they were trying to martyr him. After that incident, I was really down, and I heard DG speak about Harvest Church in Sarasota after they painted a rainbow crosswalk on their property. I attended the service that weekend and have been listening to the podcast when I can't attend in person, and oh my God, they get it. I've attended great churches in my life, but Harvest is truly embodying what Jesus preached. It's so refreshing to be around people who spread the truth, not the hate and awfulness that gets so much attention anymore. If it hadn't been for the Daily Beans, I wouldn't have found them. Thank you. Photo is my baby Simon, not understanding that I need to be able to work on this day. I was trying to do work from home, and of course there is a cat on a keyboard on your lap, basically. I love this. I think, Anonymous, I think there is a lot of real Christian people out there that are horrified about what's going on in our country. So I'm glad that you found a church that feels affirming to the true Christian values that you so practice and you believe in your life. I think we all need that. Next up, we've got Kirsten in Pennsylvania's 1, pronouns she and her. Hi, Leguminati. I'm so sorry it's been so long since I sent a Bucks County PA 1 update. No King's planning for our Morrisville PA event, drone pick included at the bottom, had me very busy. I want to apologize in advance for the long message, but I would not send it if it weren't critically important. In the past few days, I've seen a lot of commentary from people who don't understand the point of these National Kings mobilizations, sort of like our friend Julie's brother. Let's dig into why these rallies matter in the larger efforts to hold back the worst of the Trump administration's plans. Through the No Kings events and hands off before that, we are gradually building an audience of people who are learning. They're learning through these interactions with the rallies if they are capable and willing to participate in collective action. We need to build that connection because the next phase of collective resistance, which I hope we won't need, but realize will likely be required, only works if millions participate in a meticulous, coordinated fashion. This is so true. So these fun rallies are building the communication structure between rally goers and national networks. This is super important, everyone. These mobilizations are building relationships between participants and local organizers. And perhaps most importantly, they give newly activated people the opportunity to learn something about themselves. They can now answer the questions, am I a person who is comfortable being just one tiny piece of a much larger whole? Can I follow instructions? Can I suppress my own ego, as in not make this all about me, but about us, in service of the larger goals and message? Am I willing to take actions that may be inconvenient? Because in a culture that fetishizes the rugged individualist, not everyone can say yes to those questions. At some point, we may have to move into the realm of general strikes and or civil disobedience. I actually saw a post about this, by the way. It looks like they're planning one November 25th into December the 2nd, I believe. We probably will have to do that. And having resistors who are willing to commit to a collective action, who can follow instructions, who are willing to do this work without needing tons of hand-holding or cajoling or otherwise being a time-sucking wrench in the gears of this effort, wow, that's what the next phase is going to require. We have no way of knowing what action the Trump administration will take that will trigger an unseen, until then, level of national outrage that will then cause the protest movement to change gears into the realm of civil disobedience or general strikes. But these rallies are how we build, how we start to build connections to enough people to make the next phase of resistance truly impactful. Everyone is hungry to know what's next. Personally, I'm betting it will be in the spring, barring some undeniable instigation outrage from Trump. Well, these mass mobilizations bring in tons of new people. I know that Indivisible National was telling us it will be a little time before we do the next big one. Because those of us organizing on the ground, we need time to absorb all these new group members who came out for the first time before we can plan the next national mobilization. We have to make these new connections stick before we have another massive mobilization. Thanks to all who turned up, turned out, helped out, and got loud. Solidarity. This is such a good submission because we were talking about it. Kirsten, I think that the numbers are like if 3% of the population participates in one of these mass movements, like you said, that's how you topple these sorts of governments. You just got to get something like, I think it's 3% of the population. And for us, that would be about 11 million people. And this one was about 7 million. And now they've got to record all this and get ready for the next one. It's actually such a good point. Thank you so much for this. All right. Our next submission is from DC-ish. No pronouns given. Hi, Beanie Babes. You want jokes? That sounded very, you want jokes? I got jokes. You want jokes? Stand back. I'm a dad. Who's in charge of every corporate farm in America? The CIEIO. I can do this every day. The pics are me at my local No Kings rally and one of my favorite signs. Yes, that is my actual license plate. It says No Kings. Nice job with the personalized license plate, by the way. Nice little stormtrooper holding up No Emperors. I love that people are bringing American flags to the No Kings because everyone was like, this is a hate America rally. This is a hate America protest. It's a riot. That's what they were calling them. They were calling it No Kings riots on Fox News when literally there was no violence from any of the protesters. Some got instigated afterwards, but I love these. I love the submissions. You've got your good trouble, everybody. Okay. You're going to write in. You're going to tell the Republicans to get their ass back to work, or you're going to write in and thank your Democratic senators for holding that line. And there are a lot of them doing that. Well, I miss my co-pilot. She's going to be back in your ears tomorrow. I'm going to be off because I'm going to be flying to the East Coast, but I'll be back in your ears Monday. I hope that you are gearing up for our video podcast, The Beans Talk. That's going to start in November, and we'll have more information in the podcast moving forward. So you can know all about that if you are one of our patrons at a certain level, a $5 level or more, or you want to sign up to be, and you can be in our little experiment and have a say in how this goes and give us some feedback because we're a family and we're a community, and that's what we do. Allison at this point would ask me if I have any final thoughts, and I do not. Because I got my COVID booster yesterday, and so my body hurts, and my left arm has COVID. And so I'm going to let my left arm rest. Until then, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet, take care of your mental health, and take care of your family. Allison will be back with us tomorrow. And as always, I'm DG. And that's not how you end this. Stay with me, everyone. What do I say? And them's the beans. Let's just end it like that. You can see that I fuck up. That's it.
The Daily Beans is written and executive produced by Allison Gill with additional research and reporting by Dana Goldberg. Sound design and editing is by Desiree McFarlane, with art and web design by Joelle Reeder with Moxie Design Studios. Music for The Daily Beans is written and performed by They Might Be Giants, and the show is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, please visit mswmedia.com.
MSW Media.